He just said, now I look dignified. Thank you. This is an amazing day for me. Thank you, President Benton, and thank you, Regents, faculty, and especially to you, graduating class of 2009. I'm going to call out, I'm going to shout out to a really good buddy of mine in the class, Sarah Wing. Sarah, where are you? Come on, Sarah, stand up. There she is, Sarah Wing, my good buddy. She and I work together at Disney. You're looking at someone who is about as Pepperdine as anyone gets without going to this school. My mother, Jewel Risley, when she went here, Jewel Lasseter, she was one of the most proud alumni of Pepperdine University the school's ever seen. She went to school here from 1941 through 1945. It was when she started, George Pepperdine College was in its 5th year of existence. She worked her way through college as a beautician. This is a funny trivia. Her tuition was $420 a year, including dorm fees. We grew up with Dr. Howard White as one of our absolute best friends, and his son Elliot was one of my best friends growing up. And so the Los Angeles campus was our playground. But I remember as a little kid, I kept thinking about the word Pepperdine. And I kept thinking it was a place people used a lot of pepper when they ate. It's my brother and my sister both went here, but my mom wanted me to go here. Oh boy, she was an art teacher for 38 years and saved her money so I would go to Pepperdine. But there was clearly God had a different plan for me. He gave me a pencil and a piece of paper in church at Painter Avenue, Church of Christ. 3 days a week, or 3 times a week we went to church, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and I sat and drew the entire time. Started to discover, and my favorite thing in the world was cartoons. My parents could not get me out of bed at all to go to school. I was not a morning person. But come Saturday morning when the cartoons came on, I was up at the crack of dawn, and I would watch cartoons until Bowling for Dollars would come on. And when I was a freshman in high school, at Whittier High School, I read a book my freshman year called The Art of Animation by Bob Thomas, and in it described how Walt Disney made animated films. And at that moment, it dawned on me, you mean people actually get paid money to make cartoons? And I said, that's what I want to do. And I told my mom I wanted to work for Disney one day. And she, bless her heart, she always thought the arts was a noble profession. And she said, she was always supportive of me through that. And so when the time came, I was accepted to Pepperdine. I was a big water polo player at Whittier. They were just starting the water polo team here. It would be my freshman year. Yeah, polo, go Waves. I love water polo. And they wanted me to try out for the team. I doubt I would have made it, but I would have tried out. But then I got a call from Disney. I had been writing to them as a young artist, just wanting to work for them one day. And I got a letter from them saying they were starting a program at the California Institute of the Arts. It was going to be taught by these great old Disney artists that they were pulling out of retirement, and they wanted me to send in a portfolio. And my mom, was disappointed because she wanted me to go here, but she knew that this was the right thing for me, and so she let me go to Cal Arts, where I went 4 years, got a degree, but more importantly, I was taught by the most amazing artists that worked with Walt Disney. And it was fascinating because Disney had not hired young people coming into their studio for about 20 years. And all these the 9 old men, the great Disney animators, looked around and realized there was nobody to hand off the torch to. to carry on in the tradition of Walt Disney and all these. They invented the art form at that studio. And so I was lucky enough. I didn't realize at the time, coming into straight out of high school into Cal Arts, I didn't realize it at the time, but what a place, a moment in time that was. That they were teaching us everything that they knew that Walt Disney, that they developed with Walt Disney. And my classmates were Tim Burton, Brad Bird, director of The Incredibles, John Musker, director of Little Mermaid and Aladdin. And it was quite a class that we had. And we were so lucky at the time. But my dream was to work for the Walt Disney Studios. Every waking day, I'd study the films and think about it and hear the stories of, what it was like to work with Walt Disney. And I just couldn't wait to get there. When I got there, I graduated. I was so excited to start work there. And all the 9 old men, they were just at the end of their career, and I was able to work with 2 of them, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson, 2 of the great Disney animators, and they became my mentors. And I would show them all of these, my work, and I was so concerned about the drawings, because I was not that great of a draftsman, but every time I would show them my drawings, my stack of drawings that created a scene of animation, Ollie Johnston would look at me and said, "What is the character thinking?" To them, it was never about the drawings or the piece of paper or the pencils. It was about the characters in the story. And that's what I learned from them. At the Disney Studio at the time, however, the creative leadership was sort of the second-tier animators during Walt's time. And they were in charge because of attrition, not talent. And they were very, very threatened by all these incredible young talent. I mean, we were coming in. Star Wars had come out. American Graffiti, The Godfather, Steven Spielberg, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It was a revolution in film that was happening. In the entertainment, films were more entertaining than ever. But at the time, animation was really thought of, even by the key people who were creating it, as just for kids. And I knew Walt Disney never thought of that. He made it for himself. He made it for everybody. And that's why his films are so timeless. And we came in there full of energy, full of fire. We wanted to, bring great filmmaking back to Disney. But we were constantly being squished by these guys that we were clearly threatening to them. And I'll never forget one day when one of the guys, I was just trying to make the movie I was working on better by suggesting some things. And he looked at me and said, just do what you're told. If you don't want to do it, there's a line of people out the door that will be glad to take your place. And in two sentences, this guy crushed my dream. He made me not care about the movie I was working on. He made me not care about the studio in 2 sentences. I remember walking away from that very hurt, and I said to myself, if ever I'm in charge one day, I'm never going to say that to a young person. Ever. Because the young people are the future of these studios, and he didn't see that. I started seeing the beginnings of computers making pictures. And when I saw this, creating true 3-dimensional environments within the computer, I said, this is what Walt Disney was waiting for, to get more dimension in his animation with the control that hand-drawn animation had. I knew this is it. No one at the time at the studio cared. So I kept pushing. I found someone who did care, a young executive, actually over in the live action side. He let me do with my best friend, great Disney animator Glenn Keane, another young guy, and we did a 30-second test where we combined hand-drawn animation with computer-generated backgrounds in 1981. And it was so far ahead of its time, and we showed it, and I developed a story that I wanted to do as a feature film with this new technology. And it was from a short story by Thomas Deesh called The Brave Little Toaster. I found that little story. It went on over to Taiwan. It was made as a cell animated film. But I developed that at the studio, and I remember having a pitch. I was so excited. The new technology, this test, and this story idea. I thought this is going to be fantastic. And the executives walked in, looked at it. These folks that were in charge had clearly, had been talking about this project and not liking it for political reasons. And so the head of the studio, after the pitch, said, if computer animation is only good to us if it makes something quicker or cheaper, and he walked out. In 5 minutes, I got a call from the manager of the animation department. He came down, and he said, your project is now completed. Your employment with the Walt Disney Studios is now terminated. They fired me. Luckily, I had made. That's my mom, Jewel Lasseter, right there in heaven, blowing this wind. She's the most proud day of her life that I'm standing here getting a degree. So don't mind the wind. She's cooling you off. She's a generous person that way. But luckily, I had made contacts up at George Lucas's Operation Lucasfilm in Northern California, where they had the premier research group in computer animation, and I went up there. But honestly, I never told a person I was actually fired from the Disney studio, the place of my dreams. My entire, Whittier Church of Christ, all of my friends, my mother, my father, everybody, because this was my dream for many, many years, all through high school, all through college. And I couldn't tell everybody I was fired from the place of my dream. I said I followed my dream in computer animation up there. And it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years ago I actually admitted that I was actually fired from Disney. Now I'm running the place. So now I tell that story a lot. It's amazing how God works, So I went up and I started working with the most amazing 2 people on the face of the planet. Ed Catmull, who no one really knows of, the founder of the Lucasfilm Computer Division, created much of computer animation technology. And Steve Jobs of Apple Computer. He bought our group from Lucasfilm in 1986, and we formed the company Pixar. And the 3 of us led the company. My leadership skills have an awful lot to do with what I've learned from my mentors, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson, from my teachers at CalArts, from Ed Catmull and Steve Jobs. But almost more so, what I've learned in how I lead people, creatively lead people, is I've learned what not to do in these bad situations that I've had. At Pixar, we surrounded ourselves with, Ed Catmull has this belief that you hire great people, really great people. I looked at, when I first got to Lucasfilm, I looked around, he had all of the greatest researchers in the world doing computer animation. There's only about 5 or 6 of them, at the time. It was so fresh and so new. I said, how did you get all these people? And he goes, oh, it's easy. I just try to hire people that are smarter than myself. And that simple statement, I laughed and I walked away, but I realized where I just came from, where they were so threatened by young talent, Ed Catmull welcomed it and searched it out. And so when I was able to start hiring, I was the only animator at Pixar for many, many, many years. And when I was finally able to hire artists at the studio, I followed that same thing. My first person I hired was Andrew Stanton, who wrote and directed Finding Nemo and last year's amazing Wall-E. The third one was Pete Docter, who did Monsters Incorporated and our brand new movie called Up, which comes out May 29th. Please go see it. It's in 3D at all theaters. I'm not here to plug any movie. But we've, and so, we recently had our 20th anniversary, and Ed and I looked at each other, and after this years of hiring people that are smarter than ourselves, we looked at each other and said, we're the dumbest people at Pixar. Ed and I have formed, a way that a creative leadership, and it's something that's so important to try to achieve as you go out into the world. First, I believe so strongly that no matter what you do, create the best quality you can in whatever you do. Quality is the best business plan. It's the only business plan I've ever lived. Pixar Up is going to be our 10th movie, and it's a record in Hollywood that's unlike any record that anyone's ever seen. 10 successes in a row. So quality is best business plan, and we surround ourselves with absolutely the best people. And I believe very strongly in this. There's so often you will find yourself in a situation where there is a hierarchy, that ideas are important because of who is saying them, because they have a higher position than you. I believe very strongly it doesn't matter whose idea it is. The best idea at Pixar we always use. The ideas come from the receptionists. They come from the cooks. They come from everybody, and we use them because everybody's there to make the movies better. And when you do this, one of the things that starts happening is you start trusting your instinct. You start trusting your gut, and that's the thing that I live by. Is I look in, and it's our taste, our trust, and we just know what we want to do. And we trust our instinct. And we don't second guess ourselves. And when you have these situations, here is one of the challenging things, is no matter what you do, be honest at all times and honestly at all cost. You hope that the environment that you have around you, that it will be safe to tell the truth. And when you get in charge of whatever organization you are, make sure you make it safe for people to tell the truth. Don't ever, find yourself reprimanding anybody by just telling the truth. Because the good news and the bad news, you have to hear it. And as we develop these movies, there's something is that you will find this, is that every time you do something for the first time, a paper, a movie, a story, a script, whatever, chances are the first pass is going to be wrong. So Anderson coined this phrase, and we use it all the time at Pixar: be wrong as fast as you can. Get it up there. Be wrong as fast as you can. Because then, with honesty around you, you'll get to being right much quicker. This is something that I really love doing, is Ed and I, is that we work really, really hard to make everyone around us look good, to make them successes. And it comes with promoting a great culture and promoting teamwork. And it is so important to take a look at this and talk through things. And after every project, we really we call them postmortems. We look at what worked and what didn't work. And we actually get kind of excited about when something didn't quite work, because we know how to fix it for the future. And I tell you, in your life, you will start a job. And this is what I say to every single new person coming into Pixar. No matter what you do, make yourself indispensable to that organization. Make yourself indispensable. Where people, after you're done with your job, people cannot imagine the place without you. And without asking for a thing, your career will be set. Graduates, you are going to run into people, management, situations that will crush your dreams. But you know what? Just remember, listening to them, learn what not to do from that experience. Look at the positive side of that. And I tell you, in order to do something great, you have got to risk it all sometimes. At Pixar, everything we've ever done, no one has done before us. And it is a phenomenal feeling. to create something the world has never seen before. It's a lot of hard work. It's a really hard work, long hours, but it's so worth it and so satisfying. So, when you come upon those situations that will shatter your dreams, always look at the positive, learn what not to do. And surround yourself with talent, honesty, creativity, non-arrogant confidence. Ego has two sides to it, confidence and arrogance. Confidence is great, arrogance is bad. Surround yourself with non-arrogant confidence. Be brave to take risks. And I promise you, you will do something that no one in the world has ever done before. Good luck, graduates.